are your plans for the summer? I feel like I want to sing one of those really popular summer songs. I'm obsessed with Ed Sheeran's Aziza. I think that's going to be the song of this summer. So if you have not listened to it yet, highly recommend listening.
I don't have or not because I'm terrible at names.
You have to have a song of the summer. Like every summer has a song, right? There's going to be some popular song this summer, and I'm putting my money on him.
I think my personal song of the summer is going to be like, hi ho, it's off to work we go. I don't think it's going to be let up for me. I think it's going to be like rough. I think I'm going to have a busy summer.
So I do feel like when you edit this episode, you're going to have to add in some kind of fun summer music though, just to kind of give the vibes, right? But the real meat of this episode is going to be about what your business looks like during the summer. It might look the same as the year as Rachel, or it could look different. I'm doing some different things. But welcome to Manage Chaos Podcast, where we give you the startup business rundown in less time than it takes for you to get to work. I'm Katrina Purcell.
And I'm Rachel Anderson.
And today we're going to break down what you're doing this summer to build your business. Maybe you're doing a little bit of fun and relaxation. Maybe you're doing some moving and shaking, some redoing. The summer slowdown can be a little frustrating. I actually launched my business 2 years ago in the summer. So it can be a real goldmine for some strategic work that often gets kind of pushed off during busier months. Rachel, all right, where should we start? Let's think about, we have this whole 3 months of summer. What should we do?
Yeah, well, you and I have put together the top 5 things that we think businesses and business owners should really think about for how to maximize their summer. A lot of the industries I worked in had lulls in the summer. And people were going on vacation. They were going on holidays. They were not as present because they're in that like sun is shining, get the like vitamin D mindset,
especially if you live in the Northeast, for sure. I mean, the first nice day, everyone was like, I can't be here.
I'm out. Right. Exactly. So if that is you, if that is your business where you're like, what do I do in the summer when things get slow? These are our top 5 things. So are you ready?
I am so ready.
Okay. So the first thing is clean up and optimize. So this is a great chance for you to do a little housekeeping. Where are the things that you have put off all year that just need a little TLC in order for you to get ahead? Do you need to audit your website? What are pages that need a refresh? What are information that needs to be updated? Is it new features? Is it different messaging and how you connect with your clients? Is it a whole new, flow or whatever? What about the funnels that you use? Meaning how you get people from a hey, hello into yes, I'm a customer. Do those all work really smoothly? Are there new things you want to test in this quieter time where it's lower stakes if something's not quite working? I mean, what about your automations? You should go through and check all of them. Make sure that they're all still working. Make sure that things are connected. Do you want to add something new? This is a great time to test that because as we've said 1,000 times, everything you add in is one more point for potential failure. So if you are doing this in a moment where there's less people around to realize something went wrong, that's great because then there's less people affected if something does go wrong. So really ask yourself, what's outdated? What's broken? What can we double check on? And make sure everything is fresh and shiny for the fall.
Yes, I love that concept. I'm actually in the middle of doing a website refresh, redesign, all the things that's going to launch on the 2-year anniversary, which is June 30th. Amazing. And I thought it actually works out really well. There's probably going to be hardly anyone around that week because July 4th is at the end of the week. So if anything goes wrong, no one will notice except me.
That's perfect.
And I can have it fixed by the time everyone comes back online. As part of that, I'm also doing our number 2 step, which is sort of reconnecting and repositioning, right? So thinking through how to revisit your positioning. Are you still speaking to the right people? Do you have the right message? Are your materials up to date, right? So some case studies that are more up to date with accomplishments. Scheduling some client check-ins, customer interviews. I think these are a bit harder. You got to work around everyone's schedule. You got to have a little bit of patience, but trying to get on calendars now to make sure that you can kind of get those scheduled maybe throughout the summer and maybe even do something fun for them, right? Maybe an in-person at an outdoor place, trying to be a little bit more creative and memorable in how you have those interactions, taking advantage of the nice weather depending on where you're located, but making sure that you're actually taking the time to sort of reevaluate, right? And so we talk about dividing your day up and kind of having time for like creativity. And this is almost like a hyper creative period, right? Where maybe you're not as slammed into meetings because a lot of people are on vacation. Maybe your client load isn't as heavy and you can kind of take the time to reconnect with your business and think about what you want your messaging to be.
Yeah, I think that that's super important, especially if you have a way where you can kind of test, you know, like doing surveys or other sort of low stakes, like, you know, we're not talking about an hour-long survey here, but like low stakes things that you can ask from your clients, or maybe it's a new industry you want to break into and you're like, I'm going to go test this new industry or area with these kind of things. Like that kind of reconnect and reposition. You have time, like give it a little bit of that like special little glamour shot so that you can have some more data and information. Okay, I have our number 3. So
Glamour
our
shot.
number 3, you like that glamour shot?
I enjoyed the glamour shot. That's good.
Okay, so our big number 3 is you should focus on big builds. So that could look like a lot of things for your business, depending on who you are and what you want to do. So if we want to go with like the big macro potential, then maybe this is the moment you should develop that new feature. And you get it ready, right? You do a lot of product development. Maybe it's like a lot of testing. Maybe it's a lot of, I don't know, whatever, fill in the blank. And then you schedule to launch when people are starting to get there, right? Or maybe you launch the alpha version so that you can get that going and get some feedback. But similarly, maybe your big build is campaigns. So this is a great time while your, entire staff is maybe feeling a little bit more of the relaxation of having a little bit less pressure, to let their brains ideate. Let them have their creative endeavors. Let them like think and be inspired by the world around them so that you can come up with something really innovative for how you can reach out to your customers, either fresh or a whole new set. And maybe even doing a little bit of that mid-year, like, hey, what could this look like in the next 6 months if we wanted to do something really big? Like, this is your moment, right? So I'm going to say big builds. And that can include content creation of smaller things like building out lead magnets or landing pages, or you want to do an evergreen resource library where it's just always good to go. These are great moments to really focus on some of these things that feel like when everything's on fire during the year, you just don't have time. And so think about it from like, what can I do to either batch and make my life easier or build something new to do something better?
Yeah, I love that. I think the other thing we should say, I have one client who summer is actually their craziest time, right? So they are like slammed in event season, running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and maybe don't have time to do this, but they could do these things at another point of the year. And so we're not saying it has to be done in the summer, but I think for most businesses, there is typically a lull in the summer. What do they say in the market? Sell in May and go away.
I've never heard of that, actually. I love that. Yeah. I wish there was a version of that for November, because I feel like everyone tries to sell me things in December and I'm like, I'm gone. I don't want to talk to you between like December 15th and the first, like, get out of here.
Yeah. So what you can be doing also during the summer is sort of setting your strategy and prepping for Q4, right? And so especially if you have a business that is very heavily driven by sales in Q4, as well as if you start to think about fall campaigns, right? So back to school, if you are driven by things that are happening in the fall, or even for financial years, if you think about it, I think it's sort of cyclical, right? And so that businesses are going to start planning for the year in the fall, and you want to be getting top of mind so that you end up on their budget, so that you can be something that they spend on in the next year. So thinking through, what does that look like? What worked? What didn't work last year? What worked the first half of the year? Each business has to think about, when are their high drive times? What does that look like? When are they going to be getting more customers? How can you start to adjust those projections? This year may not have gone how you expected. So, that forecast now has 6 months of real data or 5 months of real data. And you're looking at now, how do you adjust the rest of that, projection data that you built out, and really making sure that you're going to go into the end of the year with a plan, right? Because you don't want to get to December and be like, wait a minute, when are we doing 2020? What does that look like? It should have been done in Q4.
I mean, one time I had a leader hand me that year's planning in like March. And I was like, you do know you're 3 months behind, right? Right? So yeah.
Like, the year's already happening.
We're already in it. We're 25% gone. Like, where have you been? Yeah. And I think that takes us to a really good moment, which is my favorite of all of our suggestions. Number 5, rest and recharge. You have to find moments throughout the year that you can go slower. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to do a good job if you're constantly at 100%. Physically, like biologically, it doesn't work. In the universe, it doesn't work. You look at seasons, things die, things regrow. You look at literally everything in life, and there are like the goes and the pauses. And you cannot expect you, your business, your team, your employees to do anything else. And so if you create an environment where you can schedule in the times where your employees can depend on being able to take a step back, that is going to do incredible wonders for your culture, for your longevity, employee retention, and even your actual programs. There's a lot of statistics about productivity overreach and the actual like drawbacks from production as a business. And so there's actual consequences. This isn't just like people want to take a nap. So really make sure that you're encouraging your team to take some time off and really try to prevent burnout. And if you think that you're edging towards burnout, then make sure that your team has the tools that they need to do the work to pull back from the ledge on that. As a founder, you should really be taking real space to reset your own energy. Are you creative? Are you analytical? Are you data-driven? Are you just a visionary? Like, what is the place that you thrive? And how can you create some rest there so that when you come back, you can give it back to the business in your full like zone of genius. And then finally, as part of all of this, go ahead and reflect on the big picture. I think that there's a beauty in being a dreamer as part of rest, right? You're suspending the reality of what is and the stress and the fatigue and the things. And as you rest, not in replacement of rest, but like as you rest, you can dream about what could be possible, what's in the future, where are we going, what can we be excited about, how can we celebrate? There's so much opportunity in that, but you as the leader have to be the first one to do it and say that rest is important. So really build that into your summer also.
Exactly. So feels like summer. I have a song in my head, but I'm actually terrible at music. So
I'm jiving with it.
That's a little known fact about me. So if you are getting ready for summer, this is sort of your roadmap, I guess, to having maybe what we would call a successful summer. So cleaning up and optimizing things, reconnecting and repositioning, focusing on content creation or any kind of large thing you want to get out the door, setting that strategy and prepping for our friends because it'll be here before you know it. And then obviously finding time to rest and recharge. Hopefully, while you are celebrating summer with a pina colada or a drink of your choice, you can think about this episode of Managed Chaos Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. You can follow and subscribe on YouTube to help us reach our audacious goal of 5,000 followers this year. We will see you on the next episode of Managed Chaos.